could not happen in nature. It's in a lab. And there's three kinds of GMOs, genetically modified organisms. The first one is called Bt toxin GMOs, and that stands for Bacterotherogenesis. That is a bacteria taken from the carcass of a dead grain caterpillar, and they genetically manipulate that bacteria to constantly reproduce more toxins. Normally, when it's used in organic farming, that bacteria dissipates after about 4 hours and it's no longer harmful. Like it wouldn't harm a flea. It wouldn't harm humans or anybody. It's used in organic farming, but when it's genetically engineered to constantly reproduce more toxins, then it's put into it's genetically engineered to be in every cell of the corn plant, for instance, in the root, in the stalk, in the corn, all of it. When the corn rootworm comes along and eats a little bit of the root of the corn, that Bt toxin reproduces and explodes the stomach of the bug that eats it. And that's why it dies. Now that is sounding suspiciously similar to me with this epidemic of children who have gut dysbiosis and adults who have allergies, holes in their small intestines.
Wow.
Gee, I wonder if it could be related, especially when Robin O'Brien says that there's been a 400% increase in ER allergy visits, right? This is documented in hospitals. When a child comes in for an ER, for a food allergy into the ER, they're almost going to die from a food allergy. That number has increased 400% since GMOs were introduced. And that gut dysbiosis, those holes in the small intestines cause not only allergies, but all types of inflammation. They could be connected to other things such as Crohn's and IBS. We don't know. There hasn't been studies on that. But the gut issues definitely are connected to inflammation in the brain, connects to autism, all types of inflammation and chronic illness. So the first type of GMO is genetically engineered to be a pesticide. The second type of GMO is genetically engineered to resist herbicides. It's called HT, herbicide tolerant, or Roundup Ready is the most common one. 80% of GMOs are genetically engineered to withstand Roundup, or otherwise known as its glyphosate herbicides, right? There's many different brands of glyphosate herbicides. Roundup is one of them. So that crop can be sprayed with glyphosate as a drying agent by airplane or tractor, with glyphosate herbicide, and the crop will not die, but the weeds will. So that crop is herbicide tolerant, right? Now, the problem with that is that glyphosate herbicides do not wash, dry, or cook off. They go into the plant and we consume them. All those residues could be some very high levels, and we are not Roundup Ready. We are impacted by glyphosate, and glyphosate is a carcinogen. It's an endocrine disruptor. It causes kidney and liver disease. It causes neurotoxicity. It causes nervous system damage, sperm damage. It androgenizes baby girls. There are studies to show this. It increases miscarriage and prenatal births and prenatal deaths. It is very harmful, even at very low levels, like the ultra low levels, like is linked to liver disease and endocrine disruption. So there's the GMO that's got a built-in pesticide. There's a GMO that resists herbicides. It becomes therefore a chemical transport to humans, has us consume this chemical. And then the third type of GMO is what I call DT, desired trait, just to go along with a BT and HT. The DT is desired trait. It encompasses the CRISPR and gene drive types of GMOs that are genetically engineered for desired trait. For instance, more vitamin A, or there's some type of strawberry out there, or some type of plant that glows in the dark. There's more vitamin A in rice. There's potatoes that don't brown and apples that don't brown. But keep in mind, they're still rotting. You just don't see the rotting. You could smell the rotting, but you don't see the rotting. And this type of potato, for instance, is a simplot potato and can be found in fast food and other types of restaurants in America. And they're using this GMO potato for French fries. And the problem with this third type of GMO is that even though it sounds fine, desired trait like more vitamin A, or fish that grow fatter and faster and they're sterile, the problem with them is that they cause thousands of off-target mutations and unintended consequences. And I don't know about you, but I have enough to worry about with my kid with inappropriate media and school and homework and girls and boys and all that. I have enough to worry about. I don't need to worry about unintended consequences and off-target mutations in the food that I feed my kids. I want the food that I'm feeding my kids to be very intentional, and I don't want any kind of mutations. So I am extremely concerned about GMOs in the food supply. And I don't think they should just be labeled. I think they should be out of the food supply because there really are no human studies showing that they are completely safe. In fact, there's a lot of studies showing that they're harmful.
Wow. Yeah. And so they've got these three different types that they're doing. And so the purpose of this, the reasoning behind, I'm trying to like think, man, why would they even be doing this? Is essentially to mass produce crops. And like you said, to get desired outcomes for the food to last longer or to be resistant. But there's no, what foods is this in? Is it in basically everything? Like I'm trying to.
First of all, they say it's to feed the world. They say that we are going to be having a population explosion and that there's no way that conventional farming is going to be able to feed the world. And I have to tell you, that is malarkey. First of all, we're seeing a decline in the human population of devastating levels. Japan and Korea, South Korea especially, which by the way have some of the highest levels of glyphosate in their food supply anywhere in the world because of bullying from the American president, pushing them to have 600% higher glyphosate levels than they had before as far as residues go. So Japan and South Korea and places like that have a lot of problems because of the American food supply. So they say it's to feed the world, right? And that is a noble quest. I appreciate that. But their basis is that there's going to be an explosion of the human population and we won't be able to feed them. The fact is we have a decline in the human populations. And the reason is because of this GMO monocrop chemical farming. The chemicals on the crops are causing a decline in fertility and sperm quality and prenatal births and miscarriages. So we are going to be having less human beings born far less than they have predicted. And the food is the reason for that. In addition, they say that they want to support this whole climate change problem and grow crops that will be resistant to heat and drought. And while I'm a huge fan of that, I'm a huge fan of being able to have crops that are more viable. The fact is that as soon as they tweak one little thing about this crop and the seed, they upcharge 375% increase in some cases of technology fees and make the farmers beholden to buying those same seeds every year. They can't grow the crop and then save the seeds and replant the same seeds. They have to buy new seeds every year and put themselves into debt. And they put these farmers on this treadmill of it's like a slavery or feudalism where they're beholden to these big seed